back to a new episode of Dare to Be Fearless. So most of you know that I first came to LA, I think in 2016 or 2017. I was living in Boston and I cold pitched a show to Radio Disney and came here and ended up getting the show a few months after I first wrote that email. And I remember coming to LA for the first time, like getting off the plane, LAX, when you see the sign, etc. And this was also way back in the day when like influencing was not that much of a thing. Like TikTok didn't exist when I first came out here when I got that Disney show. But something I was always very good at was like cold emailing people. And at the time, one in particular, I had found a Pilates studio and I cold emailed them and I was connected to one of the trainers and ended up going in. I remember with a friend of mine at the time and she comped a session and fast forward like 7+ years, she became my trainer when I came to LA, when I got the show. And so Kit Rich is here. I'm very excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. It's really good to see you.
I know, you too. And it's so crazy because you're just talking about like when I first met you to now. And I mean the highs and lows of like my life and your career pivot and COVID. And I think also it's important to know for those who don't know, Kit is a phenomenal trainer. She's trained tons of celebrities. She trains at Spear Pilates, which is how I first met you. Mm-hmm. And during COVID, you had a massive YouTube video series that you were doing with people from home. I think also there were days where you donated money to different charities.
Yeah.
So it was you're just the fucking most amazing person and you whipped my body into the best shape.
Thank you.
And so I would love to start from the beginning. Like how did you get into fitness? And then we'll go into, pivoting into writing, producing.
Oh my gosh. So I was basically, I think I was 21 or 22, which was a long time ago. When I graduated from college, I thought I wanted to be an actress writer. I came back to Los Angeles and started auditioning and hated it. I absolutely couldn't stand it. I realized I didn't want to play anyone but myself. But I was still in love with writing. And so I ended up getting a job as a waitress at night so I could write during the day. Unfortunately, being 21 and in Los Angeles, I partied my life away. And I was drinking basically a ton, and I would wake up midday and then just go right to work. And so there was no writing that was happening at all. And I was feeling really down, and I decided one day to walk into a Pilates studio, and the owner of the studio thought that I was a trainer. And I don't know why she did, I'm forever grateful she did. She said, "Well, you're a trainer, right?" And it was this tiny little sentence, this like whisper of a promise that made me go, well, maybe I could be. And it was just that simple switch, and it changed everything because I thought to myself, well, this is a way that I could still make money, but it would be a healthier lifestyle. And it would maybe lead me back to writing. And so that's how I got into Pilates, was because I wasn't taking care of myself, and I realized I needed to. I was also about 25, 30 pounds heavier than I am now when I started to be a trainer. That career kind of took off very quickly. It was like it was meant to be. Once I started training, things just sort of started to happen. I became an entrepreneur in this space. I started, training A-listers. I had a product company. I went all over the world training clients. I represented a lot of brands. I was the face of a few brands. Yes, during COVID, I went on YouTube. That was actually the most gratifying part of my entire career because I had a little bit of a YouTube presence because I had done Pop Sugar videos.
Yes, I remember those.
But then during COVID, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to show up every day for a while on YouTube, and I'm going to help people stay sane by helping them move their bodies. And it really changed my life because it created a community of people, like-minded people who were really dedicated to their health and well-being. And it wasn't focused on how you look. It was really about how you feel, which has been always my messaging. And but here I am now. I have pivoted into filmmaking. And the way that happened, and I'm sorry if this seems really long-winded. No, I hope. Okay. But the filmmaking was, I came full circle with writing. After I had accomplished, in my late 30s, I felt like I had accomplished everything I wanted to in the fitness industry, except I realized that I had given up on writing. And here I am telling people, you can't give up on yourself, while working out. You have to go after your dreams. You have to believe in yourself, and realizing that I actually wasn't living up to that word. I had given up. And so I shifted my focus back to writing. And now, January 3rd, my first feature film comes out on Amazon Prime and Apple TV called Isabel's Garden, that I wrote, directed, and produced. And that's a whole story in of itself.
I think what's so intriguing about you is that you never like to talk about yourself.
No, I hate it.
You hate
I don't
it.
know if I'm probably turning red right now because
Well,
I
it's
actually get
so
really
bright.
uncomfortable.
It's so bright in here anyway. But I think that's also when I first met you. I remember even being like so young and in that studio. And then when you started training me and whatnot, you have a sense of groundedness about you
That's nice to hear.
that I think a lot of people don't have. And I think also you built this massive presence on YouTube, especially during COVID. It's just an energy. And people say that, I think, about a lot of successful people, is like sometimes they just come to the table with an energy. But you were able to really build this practice on your own, like even getting such big clients and Pop Sugar and whatnot. So at the beginning of that, how do you think you were able to stand out in such a saturated market of trainers and fitness?
Because it was really my messaging, and it was true to me. I think the word authentic, I want to say it's authentic. I think it gets a little overused now, but it was me being true to me and being honest. I do not care about being ripped or being model thin. I care about feeling good and being confident in my life, because I do not want to get to the end of my life and go, damn it, I didn't show up in the way that I should have shown up when I had the chance, because I just didn't think I deserved it. And I saw fitness as a tool to take me to that place of confidence and believing in myself. I don't know a single woman on her deathbed that goes, I had a great ass. Now, she might say that if she did. She'll say, I loved my family. I loved being kind. I loved showing up for the people I loved. And I'm so grateful that I was healthy to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so health is, you can't do those things if you're not healthy. And so I feel like I've had my priorities straight on with that. And I think that my messaging has always just been very consistent and very clear.
Yeah.
I'm also someone that's not an extremist. I believe in moderate activity to maintain consistency. And I think that is really what helps with longevity. And that is actually how I live my life. And that's how I train. So, yeah.
I think also the way that you trained, I always found really interesting. I mean, since I first, trained with you and living in different cities, I've had hundreds of different workouts. Like I even would text you sometimes and be like, oh, this new one P-Volve started, or like, what do you think about berries? And I love getting your opinion on these things. But your actual method of training, and my favorite workouts with you were like half Pilates, half like this functional fitness.
Absolutely.
So how do you explain the method that you found that I think works for a lot of your clients?
Well, first of all, it's about switching it up. But I would say mainly it's fusion training, circuit training with Pilates, and it's functional training. So there is cardiovascular elements to it, fat burning, so that you're actually getting a lean looking body, but you're also working on stability, core strength. You feel really good. It's great for mental health. And again, like I said, it's not so intense that you don't feel like you can do it all the time. You should be able to do my workouts and be able to do it the next day.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
I was always very sore.
Well, no, sore's okay.
Always very sore.
But you should feel like it's something that you can continue doing. Yeah.
So what about like with men and women in fitness? What is the differences in their like workouts or what they should be feeding themselves? Can a guy and a girl have the same goal of being like whatever weight or having a six pack and do the same workouts and get there? Or are there like fundamental differences between men and women and how their bodies work when it comes to fitness?
I think there are absolutely fundamental differences. First of all, women get their periods. And we actually need to train with that in mind, that our bodies require different things throughout the month. And that we have to be extremely intuitive and listen to our bodies because it can cause injury. But yeah, I mean, weight training, weight training does work for both men and women. Functional training works for men and women. Pilates works for men and women. Yoga works for men and women. So you can do the same kinds of workouts to achieve results. But with women in particular, I think that we just have to be a little bit more aware of how our cycle works and to train in accordance with that.
Should women work out when they have their periods?
It depends on the person. It really is intuitive, but I would definitely recommend going a little bit lighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you have had, I would assume over the years, you've perhaps had someone come in who like maybe is underweight or like really you could sense has difficult body image, like the way they view themselves is perhaps different than they look on the outside.
Yeah.
How do you know how to tackle that type of client?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that before. I actually don't talk about the body.
And that's also, I will say, something I always loved about you is you never would be like, wow, you lost weight. Wow, like look at your stomach. You've never once in years said that to me.
Because I don't think that like I said before, that's not my goal.
Yeah.
With training, it's about how do you feel? You know, the thinnest I have ever been was when my dad died from cancer. And a week after my dad died, I did a Pop Sugar video and I looked so thin. I have never been complimented more. And I think that still to this day is my most popular Pop Sugar video. And it was a mind game to go, wow, people are saying I look so good. I'm miserable.
Yeah.
I'm suffering.
Yeah.
And so just taking that into consideration, you just never know what someone's going through. Are they losing weight because they intend to, or are they losing weight because they're sad?
Yeah.
And also, you know, what is your goal? Is your goal to, you know, to be super skinny? My goal is to feel healthy. I want energy. I want to be present for my life. I don't want to feel injured. You know,
And you had a big injury happen where you
I've
couldn't
had a
work out for
lot of
while,
injuries. Yeah, I had 2 knee injuries. And usually it was, well, one was when I played soccer when I was young, but the other one was I wasn't being mindful and I was overdoing it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I would say in a city like LA, though, it's definitely like kind of a mind fuck with the way people view themselves.
Yeah.
When you're in a world like this.
You know, I was born and raised in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I know.
Too.
You're from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But you're not like an LA person. Like when I think of you like in the way that I would think of like, you know, you don't give me the same vibe that someone from LA does. But I also, when I think about it, the people I know who were born and raised in LA are different than the people who are transplants.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, and this is not to slam people that come to move here, but I think a lot of people who move here come here with a preconceived notion of what Los Angeles should be like, and some of them might take on that persona. But being born and raised here, it's very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, even when I see kids, I'm like, what is it like to grow up here?
Normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just more traffic.
Yeah. More
Yeah.
traffic. But like, do you grow up in a world where like celebrities and that amount of like money and wealth is so close, but yet so far? So does it like impact you as a person or it just really becomes so second nature?
Well, it's a few things. One, it is definitely second nature to see celebrities, so I'm not impacted by it. Maybe why it was so easy for me to kind of move into that space as a celebrity trainer. But you know, I would say it definitely causes some insecurity, no question. Growing up, when you're so malleable as a teenager, and you're not, I was definitely not the prettiest. I was, you know, definitely not the richest. I was certainly not famous. I would say I was really, really average. And I kind of, I just didn't think I was worth a damn, to be honest. I think my entire life has been trying to figure out how to sort of reclaim who I am and to find out, and to just reclaim a sense of worthiness.
Does that stem from childhood?
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. Maybe it has something to do with growing up in
Yeah.
Los Angeles, but my mother is an incredible mother, and I think she really grounded me, and she really focused energy on my education and being a good person. And she, by nature, is someone that's constantly giving back to community. And she really instilled that in me. And I think that's why during COVID, I just was like, well, of course I'm going to dedicate my time to helping people during this time, because my mother really ingrained that in me.
In LA, in a world that's like so focused on body and perfection and whatnot, and in fitness, I would assume you have so many experiences of just like seeing trainers that are just not good people or like not kind or train wrong.
Yeah.
So how have you managed to stay so grounded in that element, in fitness in particular?
I think it has a lot to do with that I fell into this industry, and so everything that I've ever done in it has felt like a real blessing.
Yeah.
I don't have an agenda. I really don't. And I am very, very clear that I'm in it for you. I'm not in it for me.
Yeah.
And so whenever in life you have an intention of helping others and it's not really about you, I don't think there's a lot of ego involved. And in terms of, but I will say, I really struggled with self-image at the beginning of training. I had extreme body dysmorphia. And like I said, I just suffered from deep insecurity and lack of self-worth. And I think in many ways, this is why I got into the fitness industry unconsciously. It was a way of sort of reclaiming myself unknowingly.
Yeah.
And that time has just helped me with that. By helping so many women, it has really taught me what's really important.
Do you remember the age that you were really struggling like the most with body image?
What, yesterday?
Yeah. Everyone, like you're a trainer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Do you still struggle with body image?
Of course I still struggle
Okay.
with body image, and I'm in my 40s
Yeah.
now, so things just get a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I'm working against gravity now. No, I would lie. I'd be lying if I said I didn't get insecure about my body. I've had cellulite since I was 14 years old, a genetic predisposition. And oh gosh, I haven't shared this story publicly. I wonder if I should. Yeah, let me do it. Okay, so when I was in fourth grade, my teacher in fourth grade had us write a letter to ourselves when we were 18.
Okay.
Luckily for me, my parents lived in the same house, so I received that letter when I was 18. And that letter, let me tell you something. The letter I wrote to myself, I thought I was amazing.
Yeah.
The letter was going, Kit, I just need you to know you're so smart and you're so funny and you have so many friends and you're so lovable, and I just need to remind you you're really smart again. Okay, now, as fate would have it, when I was 18 years old at a different school, the teachers had us write a letter to ourselves 10 years later. So 18 years old,
What is
which
this,
means
an LA thing?
I
I've
don't
never
know.
heard of
This is
but
a
I
school
love
thing.
it.
It was all at school.
Yeah.
So the idea is I would receive that letter when I'm 28.
Yeah.
So how old are you? You don't.
27.
You're 27. So I would receive that letter when I'm 28. So I wrote this letter when I was 18. I forgot I wrote it. My parents still lived in the same house. So I got the letter at 28 years old. That letter told me that I hated myself. That letter was me praying that by the time I got that letter at 28, that I had just a little bit more self-confidence, that I believed in myself. I talked about that I had cellulite all over my legs, that I felt so insecure being in a bathing suit, all these things. I've never spoken about this publicly. I did write an essay on it, but I've actually never had this conversation out loud. It was heartbreaking at 28 years old to read that letter, because in truth, I was still really struggling at 28. I didn't feel confident, and I definitely was grappling with self-image, and I was in the fitness industry. I think this is why I've had such strong resolve in helping women, because I get it. I get it. And I've had to do it in spandex, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So essentially, when you wrote it at 18, when you were probably writing it, you were thinking at 28
that I was going to have it all together.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be married, children, have a killer career, and be living my best life. I was broke at 28.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just so relatable. Yes.
I was broke at
Yeah.
28. I did not have a partner. I had just gone on a date with a guy who, I think it was our fourth date, and he decided to share with me that he was married.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that was the end of that.
Yeah.
It was gross.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I never saw him again, obviously. And yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot there at 28. My girlfriends and I laugh all the time. Our 20s are the time to be broke and to not figure it out. And it's okay. It's all part of it. I love looking back. I loved my 20s.
So when you look back on that, like what would you have told yourself if you could have said something now, right, to that 28-year-old girl?
Oh my God, looking at her from where I am now, I mean, I think that she is so strong. I think that she has a desire, a wish for her life that no matter how many mistakes she's making, somehow, some way, she's still putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward. And that all of those things, all those regrets that I have, all of those mistakes I made lead me to here where I am, which is still imperfect and still figuring things out. But the dreams that I had for myself at 18, I have made them come true now in my 40s. Yeah. So it all works itself out.
That's what people say. But like when you're going through the motions, it's very hard to...
Oh, it's so hard to see the forest through the trees.
It's so
absolutely. Hard. But rely on your friends, on the people that love you. Take care of yourself. Be healthy.
Yeah.
Because, and go to therapy.
Yeah. Very important. Therapy is obviously very important. Oh my God. And I mean, in this year in particular, I mean, I think I've only probably trained with you like 2 or 3 times whenever I was back in LA. And I think every time I was dealing with something even way worse. The last time I think I saw you, you said something actually that was quite interesting about business or whatnot. And I remember you had said you had signed a deal with a brand and they ended up using your name. Like you signed away, I think, your rights, but you didn't realize at the time.
Yeah. I've made so many mistakes in my career. I can't even, because I never had a mentor.
Yeah. I think that's why we were talking about it. And I've told some people that story in just the sense of like reading contracts and understanding in business. When you look back on every element of the career that you've had up until now, what is one thing that you've really realized is consistent across the board when you're running a business or in the world of business?
You don't need everybody, every client. You need 10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and don't be afraid to ask for the money and be okay, and to know, because here's the thing is, when I was in my 20s, I was so afraid that if I asked for more, that I would lose the gig. In retrospect, it's okay if I had lost the gig.
Yeah.
Because you're worth it. And then what was the thing I had said prior to that? I'm forgetting what I said right before that.
Oh gosh. The signing your, well, I had said about
signing the life away. That, be diligent when you're looking at contracts. I just signed away my likeness.
Yes.
And likeness means when you're there, a company's ability to use your face, your name, your image to benefit their company, which is great if you're getting paid.
Of course. And you don't realize, again, that stuff when you're younger. So like in a sense of not beating yourself up.
Yeah.
It's hard to not do that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the movie because it's coming out on January 3rd. But before we get into that, I have just, I think, some questions that I'm curious about, like health and fitness wise, to hear from like the only trainer I probably trust, aside from one other one in Connecticut, my trainer there.
Oh, I love that.
But I would love to, I guess, ask you like first, so with this industry of fitness now, how do people know what information is right and wrong, who to get questions from answered?
That's a really good question. And I think we're right now, the problem is we are in the information age where we get flooded with so much information that truth gets pushed down. Just, it's very hard to be discerning in those situations, but I would say stick with what you see as sort of a through line throughout all the advice. Like you'll see a bunch of articles coming out, but you'll see kind of a through line. And they say weightlifting, functional training, Pilates, yoga, and anything sort of away from that are just fads, right? Functional training, in my humble opinion, is something that will never go away. Functional training means you are doing strength training, circuit training that helps you with everyday movement, everyday life. So it improves stability, strength, decrease risk of injury, things like that. How to find that information? It's hard to say. Reputable sources, find the trainers you trust. It's really hard to say because I know a lot of sites kind of just fall into the fads.
Something else I think I've also noticed about fitness, and that's why I've always trained with you or my one in Connecticut, aside from classes and stuff, is I find a lot of trainers, like, they want to be famous. I don't like, they're filming their clients. And I think also because like you have such a celebrity roster that like maybe you're more used to it. But like when I even look at my trainer in Connecticut, and I mean, he's on like not the same level in the sense of like celebrities because of where he is. But I think like in terms of your guys' experience in fitness, your expertise, your training ability, you guys are very aligned in that way. But like he never felt like none of that. And so I found with social media, I think a lot of these trainers, that's like what they do. And I just find it really distasteful. It gives me anxiety. Like, why you're never on your phone during a session, and I just
of course not,
that.
Unless I'm timing somebody.
And you'll say that, like, I'm timing you, and I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, I say I'm timing you because I don't want you to think that I'm texting or looking at my email.
But every other trainer is.
Well, that's wrong because that is, I think in general, the biggest asset you have is your focus and your energy. Where you put your energy matters. Yeah. And if someone is paying you for your time, your focus and energy is on them. It's like I said earlier, it's about you, not me. I mean, social media has figured it out. That's the biggest commodity is focus. They try to steal your focus.
With these classes too, like for your average person who's say living in a city and on ClassPass, there's so many classes that come up. I mean, there's Legree, Pilates. You don't do Legree. Like yours is more reformer,
right? No, I actually started at Legree.
You started. Okay.
I did. I started at Legree.
Okay.
But I think I left. I mean, don't quote me on this. I think I was at Legree. That's actually how I started. I was there for a year, and then I ended up working at different Pilates Plus studios while I was going through my classical Pilates training and getting personal training certified.
Some of the like very fast-paced Pilates classes though, with like a lot of pulsing and
Legree
stuff.
is not Pilates.
Okay, so what's the other Megaformer?
It's not Pilates.
Okay, so what is it?
It's its own thing, and I have to give it its credit.
Yeah.
I'm not about to bash it. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
But I think people get very confused. They think it's Pilates when it's not.
And I think also people go and like I've left some of those workouts, you know, like the really intense, your body's pulsing, like shaking to you're about to die.
Yeah.
And I'm actually never sore the next day. And people I think I'm crazy. And I work out a lot, but like in the moment I'm actually in pain. But then I'm
good pain?
No, it's a bad pain. Like there's like that one movement, and I've done it with you, but you never have me do it as many times as like the
side sit-ups.
Yes.
So that's because with what I'm working there, and sorry if I get very technical with the audience, but the side body here, obliques, but there's also this area called the quadratus lumborum. That area, so think like here around your lower back on the side, that is that causes a lot of back pain, and it's typically due to weakness and tightness. And so the remedy for that is to strengthen and stretch, but it's a fine line. You can't overdo it because then you could cause back injury.
Yeah.
So that's why you always see me do it to a moderate degree, because I'm making sure there's the stretch happening in the movement and then the strength, but then we stretch, and then we leave it alone. You can't overdo that area.
So what are these very trendy kind of classes, in your opinion, doing wrong? The Soul Cycle or
there's nothing wrong with Soul Cycle. I wouldn't say any of them are doing anything wrong. Anything that gets people to work out is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'd have to be specific so I can answer it, because I don't know. I love anything that gets people to move their bodies.
Yeah.
I would say, and there's different strokes for different folks, I would probably say if the class is so extreme that what they're basically saying is this is the hardest, roughest workout, I would probably say stay clear from that, because that's not going to ever give you consistency and longevity. Whenever you're working out, you need to approach working out going, I'm picturing myself in my 70s. And in my 70s, I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to be active. I want to be able to, if you have children and maybe grandchildren, pick them up one day. Trust me when I say killing yourself now is not going to get you there. It's by way of compassion and kindness with your body that will get you to the end result. It's not hating on yourself. I've learned this the hard way.
What about, say, a berries, like the half running, half fitness? Do you agree with that method?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with running if it works for your body.
Yeah.
Running is actually great cardiovascular. Is a great cardiovascular exercise. It's actually, I think, I would say, running, swimming, and cycling are probably the biggest caloric burn in the shortest amount of time.
Do you think, though, that these trainers in a lot of these classes, and I find a lot of them are young, like I'll be in a...
It's a young person's game for sure.
Are they experienced enough, though, to be able to say to someone, like, you're lifting something that bad? In a room with a berries where there's 50 people in this class and it's fucking pitch black.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I don't know their background.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did they got their certification online.
Yeah. Is that
or
common?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Or I don't know if they actually got their degree in exercise science. So I wouldn't want to knock someone not knowing what to do just because they're young.
Yeah.
And I would hope that the owners of the studios vet their trainers and put them through a training program. So it's hard. That's really hard for me to say. I can say I've gone to studios and I go, this person should not be training a large group. Yeah. And then I've gone to other studios with a young trainer and thought, wow, this person's incredible.
When
So
it comes,
just depends.
when it comes to weightlifting, I feel like I've always seen mixed. I've been lifting weights for like years, but I never did before because I always didn't want to get fat. Like I thought lifting weights would make you fat. Now I see things that are like, people say lifting weights is what really leans women out.
Okay. Yeah.
CrossFit or whatnot. I mean, that's a whole other beast. But what's the truth? Like, does lifting weight make you overweight,
No.
thicker?
Definitely doesn't make you overweight. Weightlifting is imperative. Resistance training is so important to create lean muscle mass. And basically lean muscle means reducing body fat. Something like CrossFit, that's a combination of a bunch of different types of training, but absolutely you should be weightlifting, but just be mindful. Right now, the fad is heavy lifting.
Yes. I think
Okay.
that's it, yeah.
Be mindful though of jumping into that. I wouldn't say someone who's been doing Pilates forever should just go right into heavy lifting. You have to progress yourself up to that. And also, it may not be right for you, but weightlifting, absolutely moderate intensity weightlifting, you should be doing to help with fat loss. Heavy lifting can bulk the body, okay? That is why it's so important to watch your nutrition. Nutrition plays a huge part. But I would say functional training in general, given and with proper nutrition, should not bulk your body. What it does is absolutely create more lean muscle because you're incorporating cardiovascular exercise with it. So it helps to reduce body fat.
What about spinning? Like, there's kind of, I guess, a myth about spinning makes your legs really thick.
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
It really depends on your body type. And it has a lot to do with nutrition.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. It's so sad to say, but nutrition plays a huge part.
They
And it's
say
really
like,
annoying.
But they say it's mostly what you have in the kitchen that matters. And like
It's
the gym's
true.
like 20% of it, right?
I would say 60-40 split,
Okay.
60%
Okay.
nutrition. Maybe some people might say 70-30. I think it's 60-40.
You mentioned earlier about cellulite.
I have,
that
yeah. No matter
being-
how fit I am, I have
Yeah.
cellulite.
Is that something, confidence-wise, it seems probably would have maybe been like an insecurity for you over the years?
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there a way to reduce it? Like, how does that play out for someone who's watching who's like 18 or 20 and is like, oh my God, I have cellulite. Does that mean I'm overweight?
My recommendation would not be to reduce cellulite. My recommendation would be healthy. Take care of yourself, work out, and if you have cellulite, so be it.
Yeah. It's kind of like stretch marks.
Yeah, so be it.
Yeah.
It's part of my body. I have a genetic predisposition to it. No matter how thin I've been or how fit I've been at any given time, it always is there. So the best way to get rid of cellulite is to not focus on it.
Let me ask. That's a good point. That's for like everything. I feel like, right? Or
I just
should be.
I just don't focus on it,
Yeah.
and it's part of me, and it's never stopped me from being successful. It's never kept me from not being on camera. It's never. I've dated great guys. I've had cellulite throughout the whole thing. So whatever.
I care about
There.
that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find the more I think about something, the more annoyed it's exhausting sometimes to think about all these elements of like your body,
Yeah, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to care so much about the details of your body when it is the least significant thing about you. What matters is you being healthy. What matters is that you can show up for your life, that you can go after your dreams and pursue the things you want because your body is healthy enough to do so. That is what matters.
Yeah.
I promise you, that is what matters.
Do you eat sugar?
I don't have a sweet tooth. I have a fat salt tooth.
Oh, you're one of those.
I'm a French fry girl.
Okay.
I used to make a joke that I wanted to be proposed to in like a big vat of French fries. I'm a French fry
And
girl.
that didn't happen, did it?
No, it didn't. It did not.
No. In your next life. What about like when someone also leaves the gym or something and like goes and gets a smoothie, and I see all these things from like amino acids to creatine to double BCAAs and like Huberman Lab, and they're saying all of these things, and I just think it's really hard to know, aside from like knowing what makes you feel good. What is like, how do you even know what's the best thing to eat after the gym? Do you need to have creatine every day? How do you just figure out your source of this information?
Yeah, I'm actually not the person to ask about that because I'm not a nutritionist, but creatine is important and there's a lot of science now about it. And so I would recommend doing research. Dr. Stacy Sims, I believe I'm saying the name right. She's got great information on that. And you can find her online, and she's really something. And she talks about creatine a lot. I personally don't do it because it hurts my stomach.
Really?
I have a really sensitive stomach. I have something called SIBO,
Okay, yeah.
small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and I have to really be mindful of what I put into my system. And creatine has tendency to hurt my stomach, so I don't do it. But protein, fats, carbohydrates.
I find, if I just eat, like, if I only ate protein all day, I'm, like, just always very slim. It's hard for me to do that, but, like, I find, I mean, if I just ate, like, steak for every meal and, like, a broccoli.
I don't recommend that, but I mean, I do think,
like it, but
but if that's what works for you, I mean, there's really different strokes for different folks. That really is true. There's no one way that works for everybody. So it really is about listening to the science, testing things out, but ultimately really listening to your body. I have tried to do very low carbohydrate diets. My eyes roll into the back of my head. I feel so lightheaded. I actually eat a lot of carbohydrates because I'm very active. So it's necessary for me.
To it. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you were a trainer for how many years, like full time?
I mean, I don't even know at this point. I think maybe 18 years.
18.
Yeah.
And then at what point did you decide you're going to, like, you've pretty much kind of left it for the most part.
Yeah. I kind of have.
And pivot.
Yeah. I'm still training a little bit.
But why and when did this shift happen?
I would say I was 38 and I had realized that I said this at the beginning, that I had pursued everything I wanted to in fitness, but I was feeling this sense of emptiness and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I realized that my entire career, I was telling people to show up for their lives and to go after their dreams and using fitness as a tool for that. And then I realized that when I was in my early 20s, I was pursuing writing and I had gotten a lot of no's and rejection. And because I had no self-confidence, I really took those no's for an answer. And I believed people when they told me no, and so I quit. And fitness took off for me, and so I did it. But coming back to now when I was 38, I realized that I was a different human now and that I wanted to see what it looked like when I didn't take no for an answer. And here's what's interesting about this. So I ended up writing this screenplay. I was always an essayist. I wrote some essays here and there. I wrote a play. I wrote a few plays. So I wrote this screenplay, and all I got were no's when I tried to put it out there. I got so many no's. But every step of the way, I was just really determined to see it through. So with those no's came stronger resolve. Okay, you say no, but what does it look like if we do it ourselves? My husband and I did this together. So what does it look like if we do this ourselves? Okay, let's figure out how to produce. Okay, now we have to find a director. Every director told me no. And so, okay, what does that look like if I direct it? So every step of the way, I just didn't take no for an answer. And now that 4 years later, the movie is coming out January 3rd. So it's absolutely crazy.
And you premiered at some film festivals too, right?
Yeah, it's won 9 awards with an additional 5 nominations, like Best Feature Films, Best Director, some Best Actor awards.
It's phenomenal. It's also cool because like you spent your whole career not in front of the camera. Like that was almost, you're training a lot of people who are, but that was just never your thing.
I was on the periphery.
Yeah.
So I would train my clients for movie roles, and I would sometimes be on set, or I would be touring, going with them to wherever we were filming. And I did get quite a few chances to watch directors direct my clients. So yeah, I was kind of always standing on the side. Never once in a million years did I think I was going to be a director. But here's the cool thing about showing up for your decisions is that I never saw myself as a director, but because I didn't take no for an answer, I ended up directing it. And actually, of all the things I've done, that's my most favorite thing.
Really?
And now that's the thing I want to do all the time.
How long does it take? You write one script, and then what's the process?
The process is different for everybody. Mine, from what I hear, was really fast. So I wrote it in 2021. We shot it in 2022. It's a very low budget indie film. I need to be very clear, like very, very small budget. So we shot it in 15 days in 2022, which 15 days for a feature film is extremely short. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's really difficult to do that. And then it was done by October 2023, a year of festivals, and it comes out January 2025.
Did you feel at any point during this, like having pivoted in your 40s, like, is this the right decision?
I still question that, to be honest. Like I felt in my 20s, where I just didn't know if anything was going to lead to anything. I find that now I've pivoted with my career, and those same insecurities come up. They don't stop existing. The difference is that I trust myself more.
Yes.
I've had so much experience with career now, where I've, had a product company. I owned a gym at one point. I've done the online thing, where I can see how things just kind of work out when you really just keep going. And when they don't work out, how something else comes through, and then you realize why that didn't work out. Right? So that life experience has taught me that even though I'm feeling insecure right now, and I don't know what's going to happen, that I have a lot more trust and belief in myself and in the process. That's one of the gifts of time.
Do you have any regrets that you've made throughout your career or like personal life?
Yeah, I have tons of regrets. I don't know. I listen to all these people say, oh, I don't have any regrets because if I wouldn't be who I am today and where I am today without those things. So there's no point of regret. I think regret is important. I have tons of regrets in both my personal life and with my career. What's important about regret is, do you self-flagellate and go into shame, or do you learn from it? And that's when it becomes an empowering thing. Yeah. I regret that decision, but I learned so much. Mm-hmm. Would I do that again? No. But I grew, and now I'm here because of it. Personal life, the people I dated, some people I dated, I won't name names, some choices I made there. Career, like what we mentioned earlier, signing contracts and thinking that I needed to take the job because what if another job didn't come? And it's okay that I wasn't getting paid a lot, and it's okay that I was giving away my likeness in perpetuity, by the way. And that's okay because I need it. No, you don't. You should always honor yourself and know your value, because I promise you, you will kick yourself later. Yeah. I made a lot of career mistakes. So many.
But I think also a lot of those times you're, in a way, like a lot of people will say yes to that thing they know that they could do better for because they're desperate in that moment, or they need the money. So sometimes it's kind of like a grapple with, okay, I know I should say no to this, but I also need...
Yeah, I needed the money.
Yeah.
I did. I needed the money, and it helped me pay my rent.
Yeah.
But I felt a lot of resentment when I would see my videos still playing, and I'm like, wow, I'm not seeing that paycheck.
actors also talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, they didn't know or whatever, and it goes out for forever. So
yeah, but it's not the brand's fault.
no,
It's
yeah,
mine.
but they know, like, all it's business, right? I think that's
business.
also what I learned so much about, like, living in these main cities, but even living in LA. People are very emotional. You can't be emotional if you want to be successful in business.
Oh, I think you should totally be emotional. I think you should be yourself.
You should be yourself, but I think people get too caught up in what other people are not feeling, but like what they're thinking. So then they almost, how do you explain this? Like, I think sometimes people in business think that everyone's very they think people are emotional, so they kind of meet on that level, and then I think they get screwed over sometimes, thinking someone's doing it in their best favor. But at the end of the day, like, it's business.
I think the distinction is it's not personal.
Yeah.
But you should absolutely feel passionately
Yes.
for what you do, for your work, and you can be emotional about it.
Yeah.
But it's not personal.
Personal. That's what I think I struggle with.
I get that.
Is that part. So being on set for you, you know, writing, directing, that whole process, what is something that surprised you about the experience? And like the best thing you walked away from, like, producing that as your first?
What surprised me about the experience is, you know, as an entrepreneur and having started a few businesses from scratch, I thought filmmaking would be similar. It is not. It's the hardest endeavor I've ever done. It's not linear. There's so many moving parts, and it doesn't often make sense. And timing is everything, and there's just it's a lot. It's a lot of a lot of a lot. But what I loved about it is when it starts working and gelling, it's the most magical feeling. Creating art is the most magical thing. I'm really proud of Isabel's Garden because it has a really positive message.
What is the message? What is the movie?
Isabel's Garden is about a stepmom who unfortunately loses her husband in a car accident. And then she's tasked with having to help raise her stepdaughter alongside his ex-wife. It's a really beautiful, hopeful family drama that instills hope. It's about resilience, it's about women being there for each other instead of being competitive. It's got a lot of really important life messages in it. And it stars Karen David with Gabriela Flores and Valerie Ortiz, Jane Taney, and my husband is in it, Manuel Rafael Lozano, and he produced it and executive produced it with me. And it's been such a ride because it was my very first film. And I jumped into the feature film space.
And I think also you guys working on it together, like you and your partner.
Yeah.
Is that hard?
So hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we actually worked together so well. And it was so difficult because he was acting in it and I'm directing it. And I wrote it and we're producing it together and executive producing. There was so much, but we had tons of help. We had a great team of people who were there to support us. So we weren't alone. And that's really what any business endeavor is that you're not an island. You're working with people. It's a collaborative, creative process. And I couldn't have done it without everybody involved.
After this comes out, what's your plan? Do you want to do more? Do you want to break and then get back into it?
I don't want to break. I want to do this over and over and over. I feel so passionate about it. I love it so much. Here's where I've landed. I know I have to be creative. I have a voice. I'd like to use it, whether that's speaking, writing, filmmaking. And I want to put something that's positive out into the world that I feel helps someone in some way, shape, or form. I feel, hopefully, people who have done my videos and have trained with me feel that way, that I have done that, that I've helped them, whether it's through my training or through my messaging. With filmmaking, I want it to be through my messaging as well, something positive. That is how I wish to leave this world. And I know it sounds morbid. You've heard me talk about death a little bit, like at the end of your life, the end of your life. The reason I say this is because I think it's a very healthy thing to think about how you want to live your life by knowing that one day you won't have it.
Yeah.
And my awareness that one day I won't be here is, I think, strengthens my resolve in making sure that what I do helps people and is positive.
I think that's what I've realized too as I've gotten older, is like that stuff is just really what matters more, because otherwise you get so caught up in the noise of life.
Yeah.
You know, and you're very ambitious too. Like when you're an ambitious person, I also find that can be a struggle. 99% of people are just traditional. They go to their job, they have a paycheck, they have security. And when you do something totally opposite like that with your life, you can get so caught up in this hamster wheel that you forget about like, what are you doing this for?
I used to be more ambitious when I was in my 20s, and I think that was mainly because I was so insecure. And so how I look back on it now is I had to be successful so that I could feel like I was worthy. And now it's not so much about ambition. It's about doing something that really feels right and feels like it has purposeful good. And that's where then the drive comes from. That's how I move forward. But to go back to your thing, I want to keep directing and keep writing. I love it so much. I've written 2 screenplays, and
So cool.
and so I want to just continue doing it.
But no acting for you?
Oh my God, never. I just want to be myself. That still holds true.
That still holds true.
I just want to be myself.
Yeah.
Plus, I can't stand, I know I'm on camera all the time for fitness videos. I've never liked myself on camera.
Really? I mean,
I
yeah.
cringe watching myself
Me
on
too.
camera. I had a client that likes to joke with me, and she'll put on my YouTube videos like right in front of me, and I'm like, oh my God,
That
turn
is,
that
like,
off. Turn
bullying.
that off. No, she's just joking.
I've had people do that too. I always say like, please just turn it off. I'm so uncomfortable.
Oh, I can't stand
I hate it. Yeah.
Well, because also too, I don't think anyone should have that much awareness
No.
about how they look. First of all,
It's awful.
But,
Yeah.
but just to, how I felt in that moment and how I look are 2 very different things. So I
Yeah.
would prefer just not to see.
I also think that's also what keeps you like successful and moving forward, right? Is because you're not going to sit there and be like, oh my God, that was the best video. I look amazing. I'm the best.
I've never thought that about myself.
Me either.
I don't.
like, what's
I don't
wrong
think,
with us?
I
But,
don't
like,
think that highly of myself.
No. Are you kidding or no?
I think, no, I don't.
Me either.
Yeah, I don't.
But sometimes I'm like, what's wrong with me that I'm like that? But then I'm like, that's just the way that I am.
I don't think it's first of all, I don't think it's unusual to not want to see yourself on film. I think it's unnatural to want to see
Yeah.
yourself on film personally. And I think those that have that bug to see themselves, I think I applaud you. It's great. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't have it.
Yeah.
I would prefer, I know like right now I'm on camera, guaranteed I will not be watching
Yeah.
this. I will listen,
Yeah.
but I won't be watching.
It's really quite interesting. No, I'm the same way. I don't even really, I send it to an editor and then I literally scroll through.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've come to the realization that I firmly believe that's like why some people are successful is because they have, they're in a way detached from like the real way that people view them and then the way they view themselves.
I don't know how people view me.
Yeah.
I know I know a lot of people don't like me, and I know there's a community of people that do. And that's what I said before, that you needed 10%. Remember I was like, what was that thing that I said
10%
about
what?
business advice?
Ah.
When I said you don't need everybody, you
No,
need 10%.
10%.
You need 10% of people that are willing to buy whatever you're offering.
Yes.
And the community of people that have done my workouts and have listened to my messaging, I'm very grateful for them. I think that's all I needed. I didn't need everybody. I needed them.
I can't even imagine though someone not liking you, but I'm assuming you
A
mean
lot of people don't like
but
me.
behind when you're directing.
Oh, no, I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like me because I've been told on social media, people tell me, they'll say, I don't like you.
But
They'll be like,
But they're not really.
I'll never forget one essay that I wrote that went out, and I think someone wrote like, I wish you would just die. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's harsh for an essay.
Yeah, but those aren't real people, right? Like, so that's hard to even take seriously because, like, who gives a fuck about what those people think because they don't know you in real life?
I would say that's how I feel now.
Yeah.
In my 20s, that was very hard for me to grapple with.
Yeah.
For sure, I felt very insecure then. I took that personally. But now, if you don't, I don't trust anyone who doesn't know me and have my best interest at heart. And I also don't listen to any advice if I don't actually see in them something that I wish for myself.
People ask people for advice from the wrong people,
Totally, all the time.
especially entrepreneurs. Like, I always ask my mom for advice, and every time I regret it.
I love my advice from my mom.
She gives me
The
good
advice from my mom.
Sure, like surface level, she gives me good advice, but a lot of times it's hard because my life is so different than hers. or the way that someone is normal, right?
Yeah.
Trying to ask someone who's very normal advice on how to deal with like the mania of running a business or the finances or being broke or not having clients, etc. You're literally asking like a bodybuilder how to like eat at McDonald's all day. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's so important in life to be discerning.
Yeah.
Just be discerning and listen to your gut and take advice, right? But you can hear it. You just decide if you're going to act upon it,
Yeah. So you're gonna do another screenplay after this.
Well, that's the goal. God willing. I don't know if we'll see what happens. I might be training for a lot longer. We'll see, because that's the reality of a career transition. Is that especially if you still make a living, you're still going to be doing the other thing.
Yeah, it's like your side hustle. It's weird when you're an entrepreneur and you have a side hustle and like your full-time thing, but they're both entrepreneurship.
Yeah, but one's feeding the other though.
Yeah.
It's really important when you're writing to do other things, to sort of distance yourself from it. I'm so grateful. I fell into fitness. I really did. Like I said at the beginning, I'm so grateful that I've had the career that I've had. I feel like in many ways I've been a witness to my career, and I'm in awe that people have given me the opportunity to help them and to get them to where they want to be in their lives, whether that's spiritually, emotionally, physically. I can't think of anything better. And now my hope is that through filmmaking, that some random person is sitting on their couch in the middle of nowhere, wherever they live, and my words help them somehow, some way. So
your workouts do, so your words definitely do too.
Thank you.
That I know for a fact.
Thank you.
Kit, where can everyone find you on social media, watch the movie when it comes out, etc.?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at onlykitrich. You can do my workout videos on YouTube. Just find me, Kit Rich. Google me, or YouTube me. I'm like 40. Both. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm actually 41. And then you can find out about the movie Isabel's Garden by just simply researching it. But on January 3rd, we'll be on Amazon Prime. You can rent or purchase, and also on Apple TV. So check us out.
Thank you so much for coming in. I'm so excited about this chapter of your journey.
No, honestly, thank you. Thank you for letting me train you for as long as in some of your most impressionable years. Thank you for letting me be there for you. Yeah. I'm really proud of who you have turned into and who you are going to continue to become. You're amazing. You should know that.
Thanks.
And I've seen your process and your progress, and just don't stop. You're incredible.
Thanks. Well, I think thank you for also always maintaining such a balance, and maybe even if you don't feel like that when you're not training, but you've always just been so grounded. And I think just in business in general, when people are so crazy, and you just as a business owner, but also a trainer, have always just it's just balance. There was never anything that was too much
for you
to
you to say,
handle or train, etc. And that just got me through some really difficult times for me in business when I didn't know who else to get even advice from or just to talk to.
Well, I'm glad I could be there for you in those moments. That was clearly my role, and other people who have done that for me as well. So I'm glad I could do that for you.
Especially because you said you also never had a mentor. I never had one either. And so it's just awesome. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. I know. Thank you to everyone so much for tuning in to Dare to be Fearless today. If you want to find out more about Kit and the movie, head to the show notes and make sure to follow Dare to be Fearless on social media at Dare to be Fearless, and my social media, which is at Alexa_Curtis. And I'll see you back next week for a new episode of Dare to be Fearless.